this is the NASCAR segment because it's around the SEC presented by the Jackster Group. But when Josh Pate joins us, it's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. What's up, Josh?
I feel like I should have worn a name tag. Just to put that big A for Academy. I'm good. How are we doing? It's the first hit of the first morning. I haven't even spit my gum out yet.
All good, man.
Terrible.
All good. Hey, so first off, I gotta tell you, my wife thanks you. Okay.
Just continue, please. More context.
I went to your wedding.
Oh, okay.
Right? Which, humble brag. And it's the first time, and I think maybe a decade, that I've danced.
You did get out there.
I did.
And I didn't even get out there.
Hate dancing. Especially as a sober person. I don't drink at all.
Right.
And I just felt like such a freaking clown. I'm dancing. You got Billy dancing next to me. My wife's but she thanks you because it's been a long time. Great band you had, by the way.
Dude, how about them?
They were fantastic.
That's what I remember, man. Yeah. And I'm like you, I don't drink. So as soon as we got done with everything on the rundown that I was required to do, you notice you didn't see me for a long time. Right. I just at my own wedding sort of faded in the distance. I went outside that big Hell in a Cell infrastructure we had. But you got good reviews. You got good reviews because the positive side of you and I being the only dry people at the event is no one really has good recollection of what happened. There's a blurry image of you doing something. That's about it.
Yeah. If it was rap, I was out there. Sure. So there it is. You're about to make fun of it?
I'm shocked that you don't dance. I thought you'd be doing that kind of Ricky Ricardo stuff.
No, I don't.
Mumbo or whatever. It's the big Cuban dance.
No rhythm, bro. For real. I can do the hip hop, like the 50 Cent, I can do that.
That's you can nod.
Yeah, I can nod and move my hand like I'm spanking something. Sorry. Let's talk some college football, Josh.
Great sound bites so far.
So this is the question I asked Obi a moment ago, and I'm going to ask you. What is the appropriate amount of time for expectations to make a playoff for a coach or a program? For instance, an upper echelon perceived program, LSU, A&M. Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? I'm thinking Brian Kelly in this conversation.
Yeah, for Kelly, it's a couple of years in. For Hugh Freeze, it's 3 years in. So a lot of it has to do with what you inherited, which I don't think many people choose to look at it that way. I think most people choose to look at it as, well, here are the resources they have. Elko deals with this. Elko, since he inherits a lot of resource, everybody thinks, well, it doesn't matter if you start where Kalen DeBoer is starting or Hugh Freeze is starting. Well, those two started in different galaxies in terms of their entry point. Likewise with Billy Napier when he took over Florida. I think people who understood how to assess the situation understood there's probably a little bit that needs to be torn down still, but when it gets done, it'll be all the way down to the studs, and they're going to have to, even if he knows what he's doing, they're going to have to build it from scratch. So with Kelly, it's kind of a mixed bag because some people around LSU will tell you, we left a really good situation there. Others will say, you left some talented athletes there, but in terms of culture, it rotted a little bit. My answer to that is, well, okay, take the first year and do whatever you need to do. But in the modern talent acquisition era, I think second year is when they reasonably start to expect some things. The third year, you should be at cruising altitude. You should be, I'm not saying you need to win a title by year 3 or anything, but when I look at you, I should have no doubt. I shouldn't be saying, well, give them a little more time in year 3. It's just in this day and age, there's no way.
Understanding the demands and the expectation and the history at LSU, is Brian Kelly, let's fast forward to this time SEC next year, is he on the hot seat if they don't get into the playoff this year?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about a few guys. Kelly was one of them who you would not term as being hot seat right now. Right. That are a year away from it. I think there are a lot of guys in college football that you would term like that. It's kind of a weird thing where if you do a hot seat list, I don't know how deep the list is really. I think it's very deep, full of guys that if they don't get a certain level of job done this year, then fill in the blank.
Some of the other guys you're thinking?
So Napier, I think, is one of them. Yeah. Again, he got himself off of it last year. But I think about. It's a little weirder conversation, but what if Alabama went 8-4 this year?
Yeah,
I don't expect them to. No. So I've not entertained that a whole lot. But what if they
just don't get into the playoffs?
What if they just slid back another game? A lot of close losses. What if that happened? I like Venables is there now. Hugh Freeze, I think, is there now, but there's a lot of argument about that sort of internally there. But I just wonder, how many people are immune to a 7-5 season? because it's far more likely statistically that you incur one in today's SEC. So mathematically, the odds of you going 7-5 with a decent team have gone up. How many head coaches are immune to the impact of that placing their name on the proverbial hot seat the following year?
Josh, our audience obviously wants A&M to do 9-3 or better, right? That's what we want. But could it be a step in an okay direction if they do what a lot of people love to say, 8-4, 7-5, based on schedule, based on some of the changes, or no? Mike Elko, year 2, it's got to be better than 8-4.
No, it needs to be better than 8-4. The caveat to that is, I mean, you and I have talked about this exact scenario before. 8-4 with 4 losses by a combined 15 points versus 9-3 with 3 blowouts. What signifies a better result as a program? Probably the 8-4. Okay, but it's impossible for us to know how that would go. So we've basically got to fly blind in July. You need to be 9-3. Now, here's the follow up to that. That is using Preview Magazine logic. That's us looking at the depth chart and it's pristine. No one's hurt. So like there are, of course, scenarios like I remember Florida going to play Texas last year. Lagway's out.
Right.
Well, that game's over. So I could not have known that in the preseason. And then even when we get to the end of the season, Lagway's back healthy and they're one of the better teams in the country. And so you look back at the Texas game and everyone says, yeah, but on that.
Right.
Well, I mean, for all I know, Texas A&M has some stretch like that this year. On the flip side, your opponents could have a couple of stretches like that you're the beneficiary of. I think blindly, 9-3 is reasonable, but more so than that, I would say, okay, well, when I watch that team, if they go 8-4, if they go 9-3, is it the kind of product where I look at it and say, yep, tangible improvement, year 1 to year 2? Because if that's the case, even if it's 8-4, if that's the case and the wins are backloaded, like you finish strong, it's not happy, but it's acceptable,
right?
I guess.
From the outside of College Station, college football analyst perspective, would you look at and say this is the key for A&M to go to make that improvement and become a 9-3 or 10 or better?
Yeah. So I think you guys would agree with me that at their best, they are capable of having one of the best ground games in college football this year. So that needs to be the case, but also like I still think defensive personnel in this sport has still not fully come back to the middle, so to speak.
Right.
Like there was a really, really violent shift to account for all the RPO stuff, all the spread stuff, linebackers that used to be 255 are now 215. And so like I look at A&M and if you do nothing more, and this is like minimum baseline stuff, but if we sit A&M on the table here and it's nothing more than a dominant ground and pound ball control plus turnover type football team this year that plays dependable defense, well, that's an identity. And you're playing a sport where how many times do we get to Halloween and one of your biggest criticisms of a team is, I don't know what their identity is. They're so Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they threw for 350 one week and 128 the next week. Sometimes they run it, sometimes they don't. If they can just do that, if they can establish the identity out of the gate, don't find it during the season. If that's established out of the gate, then stuff just works downstream of that. Now, the style of play that they're going to have to incorporate this year is going to put them in a ton of one-possession games. So I think the biggest key stat for A&M, and to an extent every team, but A&M especially this year, is if you could just tell me like their plus minus in one-possession games, that's their season, really.
Last thing for you, when you look at the A&M's schedule and these perceived top teams, which one of those top teams, LSU, Notre Dame, Texas, if you want to throw in Florida, South Carolina, do you think has the biggest chance to have a drop-off from their preseason expectations?
I'd say maybe South Carolina because it's so quarterback dependent.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people's answer, well, tell me if you agree with me on this. Do you think a lot of people's answer would be Notre Dame? Just
yes.
Because blindly you're used to Notre Dame. I mean, we had trained ourselves. I would agree with this, by the way. You had trained yourself to think the ceiling of Notre Dame football is below that of national championship in the modern age.
Correct.
So then they made it there last year. The natural inclination is not to automatically change your mind. Your inclination is to say, all right, that's like pulling a rubber band. And they got almost back here, but it's going to snap back to reality this year. I actually don't fully agree with that. So I still think they're a tough out this year. I'd say South Carolina with the defensive talent they lost, with how unproven they are at receiver, with how up in the air the whole running back situation's been. Like Lenore Sellers, I mean, if he's an All-American, okay, but that's literally what he's got to be. You can accept nothing less from the quarterback position for them to meet expectation then, and just be as good as they were last year.
Josh, great stuff, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, you guys.
See ya.